Follow-up video to a previous video and just answering questions of lab tech. October 28th, 2020, some website or group calling themselves National File insinuated that they had an unknown year work, a diary by Ashley Biden. We now have a 112-page PDF file that's 2 pages per, you get the idea, that said on page 5, today's date is 2019, January 27th. And on page 3, it said, in the future, a year from now, it'll be January 2020. So this is a 2019, not an unknown year document. At the time they did this, they've retroconned this several times. Several pages have. Every website keeps retroconning and redacting and stuff. At the time, they said they didn't know what year it was from, and they were questioning its validity, blah, 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 or not. But strongly insinuated or outright said, depending on what day of the week it was. There was Ashley Biden's diary, and it had incriminating evidence that proved that our current president is, invalid. Something dark side. This was an October surprise done just before Halloween, and it's propaganda. Now, burden of proof. I'm just going to cut to the chase. You have to prove that this belonged to Ashley Biden. A story was circulated how this came to be. And again, this is all smoke and mirrors, a long drawn-out story to take away from what makes you think this is Ashley Biden's diary. And it was a little notepad like you could buy at the store, about this big. Okay, has stripes on the paper, all that kind of stuff. And it's one of those that's bound instead of doing wire binding. It's actually bound like you would do a little book. Project Veritas, which is just James O-Keef, made a claim for its origin story. So I'll read it back, a short version. Some people moved into a place. They found it there. But we're not told where that place is, who they are, or even what part of the building it was originally. And they claimed that it was originally occupied by Ashley Biden. He claimed he bought the thing for $40,000, so he was in physical possession of it. Now, at the same time, or before or after, the National File website or group released some information, or all of it, teased about it, changed their story, blah, blah, blah. He also spin-doctored, days later, November 5th of 2020, that it was absolutely confirmed as authentic by the FBI. When he was asked to explain where they did that, he said, well, they didn't actually say it, they just raided me. Okay, that's not confirming what you wish to produce as propaganda. He's a propagandist. He's a propaganda softcore where he'll put out jokes, stories, and actually be kind of entertaining. And on the other end of the spectrum, he's willing to falsify evidence. Overtly. Badly. Because he doesn't care if he gets caught. He's a propagandist. He's trying to promote somebody. He's a hype man. The National File website may or may not have been trying to be less fake. But the fact is that you have to look at the document, which we can now look at. It's on archive.org, details, Ashley Biden diary, page, whatever. Download the file and prove to me you couldn't fake that. Okay, at that point, it has to be authenticatable besides it looks right. Next. He spin-doctored the whole thing as being confirmed by the FBI simply because he was raided. He was raided for whatever reasons they did or did not produce at the time. And the more secretive anybody is, the more this can be manipulated. A propagandist will manipulate any lack of information to be whatever they wish to say it is. And then everybody forgets what it is, but says, well, he proved it, right? No, he lied, because that's what he does. He's not the spin doctor. He's not the propagandist that does a Rosie the Riveter poster. He's the kind of person who works for fucking Adolf Hitler sometimes. At least he acts like it. Anyway, he did not release the documentation. He had a physical version of it. He didn't post it. January 30th, 2021 or later, National Files PDF version came out on archive.org. I don't know if they posted it or not. It doesn't matter. You can post it under any name you want to. So this is a long, convoluted story. And of course, it was supposed to have been found in a place that people were moving into, which means it's finders keepers. Could not be stolen. Or was he talking about someone else finding it and then someone else giving it to him? What do you have to prove in order to prove this is real? Number one, you have to prove it's not fakeable. It has to have something specific in it that only Ashley Biden would have been able to write. It has to be reasonable to a normal, reasonable, and prudent person. Not someone who's this boomba rooting for Donald Trump. A reasonable person, not a Hillary lover. A normal person. Is this absolutely, being a little thing this big, a diary? Or at least a document that is not fakeable? The answer is there's no way to prove that it's not fake. There's no way to confirm it. I mean, internally, when you look at the pages, you can see bleed through from each page, so it's not some Photoshop job. What I'm talking about is, could anybody have phonied this together very easily? The answer is yes. And at the time, I wasn't able to find any clean copies of anything, just excerpts, because they wanted to control the narrative. You have to prove it was from where Ashley Biden lived, which means you'd have to know where Ashley Biden had lived at any time. You'd have to know the building is one of them, and you'd have to know where in the building it was lost. It'd have to be lost and found. It couldn't be stolen from somebody, or it couldn't have any other tainting effect, because the chain of evidence can't be tainted that way. I'm not speaking in the court case. I mean, in reality, you have to be able to prove it really came from her. Otherwise, it's bullshit. It could have been anybody writing it. It could have been just a random person. So you have to prove it has specific details that would only be a person who had to be her. That's really going to be hard. And you have to prove it was where these people, quote, found it, or where somebody found it. It means we have to have the location. It has to match with where she'd lived. The National Files Unknown Year diary or file really has to be confirmed as the same as James o-keef had, and they have to match what they say they saw when they found it. They'd have to witness that, yes, that's what I'm seeing on the page, that's what I'm seeing James o-keef holding in his hand. They're all the same thing. They could just make a statement like that. And if they won't tell us the location, we should be able to figure out where Ashley Biden lived and find out all the places it could have been. Okay, now here we go. A new claim came along. Again, everybody screams, the FBI confirmed the diary. Remember. Okay, what really happened? August 25th, 2022, in Manhattan Federal Court in New York, as part of a plea agreement, two people, Aimee Harris and Robert Kurlander, entered a guilty plea to the following crime: conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property. Now, there's a claim that you'll see when people look that up. It'll say, and it had to be Biden, or a politician, if they want to look a little more authentic. The actual decision and plea deal has to state factually what's going on to define it. They could have stolen something from somebody else. They could have been something else entirely unrelated. There was supposed to be $40,000 paid to them. That's supposed to have been returned. No, it's not been returned to James o-keef. It's been dumped into the federal coffers because they acquired something through illegal action. Again, it's a claim that they were merely facilitating the transport of something stolen. There's no claim, or at least no prosecution, that they stole something. So maybe they went into a place, found something that someone else has stolen and dropped there. That breaks the chain of evidence immediately. Well, you're just being biased. Let's get to that in a minute, though. Did they say it was Ashley Biden's? Did they say she lived in the building that they found it in? Did they say where in the building they found that notepad? Do they say that the National Files release is identical? Did they say Project Veritas also had it? Did they say that they were paid by him $40,000? What's going on? We're not given that information. Again, they erased the tapes, conspiracy theory. Propaganda is based on never, ever answering any questions. It's about creating them. This has been going on since I tried to look it up the first time. People are going back and retroconning this bullshit story for a long time. Again, look at it. It's a PDF file on archive.org. How hard would it be for you to get out some colored pencils and one of these things and make a very good fake? Would somebody give you $40,000 for it? You have to prove it's from where Ashley Biden lived, bare minimum. Doesn't matter how it was acquired. Just prove it. Are they stating where it was found? I'm sure in the documentation for the court case where this guilty plea came through, they stated where it was. All you have to do is show Ashley Biden once slept there, along with maybe me. Now, why am I being so incredulous? I don't care if you like hearing it. I'm going to repeat it another fucking time. James O'Keefe is a propagandist, both the good kind that would, do, Saturday Night Live skits and make fun of somebody, and on the bad end of it, being judged officially to falsify proof, not evidence in a court case. That's different. The low bar here is, does the goddamn thing, does he lie? Yeah, he's not a source. Him making assertions, he could have made it up. They could even deny everything he said. The only thing they said we're guilty of is we were planning on or actually did transport a stolen object. And then people add in addendum, it's totally proven. No, you have to actually look at what was said and what was done in the court case, and if it's got open data or not. And if they're going after James O'Keefe, they're turning state's evidence against him. And again, if he's very confident, that means he's not going to go to prison, because slimy fuckers like that never go to prison. I'm supposed to listen to this shit show and not ask the simple question. Prove it came from the person you said it came from. None of them have even tried to. Because this is the reveal. The only thing claimed about it is one sentence or one paragraph or a couple of things. If you stick them together right, or just read one of them and it looks overt, it's making a claim that the person who's writing out what they're saying was touched inappropriately by Joe Biden. That's a claim you're going to hear. If you read it, and you can, does it really say that? Does it indicate it? Is it insinuating it? Is it avoiding saying certain things because if somebody phonied it, they'd be guilty of making a false claim? And again, lying doesn't really get you thrown in jail. It's lying under oath in a courtroom. If you go in a courtroom like Donald Trump and admit you lied about everything and made sure nobody will ever hear you, you can get away with all sorts of shit. You just have to know when to tell the truth. Ask any lawyer about it. You again have to prove it was only from Ashley Biden by some way, and only could be real and can't be faked. First layer. And the way you do it is to show a clear chain of evidence. That is gone. A clear chain of witnesses. Gone. Even a claim that there was a chain of evidence. The National File, Project Veritas, and these two individuals are not overtly stating that they have a chain of evidence. They're not willing to. Now I'm going to read the least crazy shit someone's typed out under the channel video. This is a video from a long time ago. You couldn't verify it's real, so it must be fake. And you guys won't verify it's real, so it has to be fake. That's my snarky little response. But that's literally the rule. You have to prove it's real or it's not. This is bullshit. Why would you even post that? I hope you accept that a week ago, 2 people pled guilty to the charges related, weasel word, to stealing said diary. Number one, they didn't plead guilty to stealing it, which is probably what their claim was originally. They pled guilty to charges related. They were the go-between. They were the mules. And it's not the diary. You agree to the stolen property but neglect the fact. Anytime any conspiracy theorist says fact, you know it's going to be a walloper. That diary was listed as part of the stolen property. Really? Okay. And I'm sure you have a link to it. I asked this person to explain themselves. They did not. They came back with this. I'm sure that you'll prefer to believe that the actual diary is still classified. No, I didn't say that. Somebody else just happened to forge 220 pages of craziness based on a hunch that the actual diary was actually stolen. I never said that. I'm saying that no one's providing proof. You're full of shit. You would rather pretend that somebody prophesied that an actual diary was stolen and then forged it. Like I said, these people are many steps ahead of you, so you should consider a different hobby other than trying to expose them. The people I'm talking about are chronic liars. There's nothing to expose here. They didn't prove their point. They have an uphill battle. Seems biased how you're so adamant about calling it fake. What a clown. Whatever. You seem biased anyway. I'm just saying it's obvious which way your bias is leaning. No surprises. You look the part, although for obvious reasons. Due to you creepy bias towards in favor of child violators. Oh, he went there. I'm sure you will delete this post. I noticed you only get a few on each video, but they're all hidden. YouTube's been hiding your comments, so I have to work hard to see them. Now I'm going to delete them because you are an asshole. And you didn't answer my questions, which is worse.